What is up, guys? In today's video, I am going to be going over my Fortnite controller settings for Chapter 6 Season 3. As always, if you guys do find this video to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what input method or what controller you use to play Fortnite, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation. Let me know that down in the comments below. I personally use the PS5 Evolve Jake aim controller, and I do use a Control Freak High-Rise Galaxy on the right stick. I am sponsored by AIM and have my own design. There will be a link down in the description below where you can check them out. Their custom controllers offer many customization features like digital buttons, which will make them as sensitive and clicky as possible, adjustable hair triggers to make it to where you can shoot as easily as possible and as fast as possible, and then obviously paddles on the back of the controller, which are going to allow you to map actions to the back buttons. That way you don't have to take your thumbs off the stick at any times, which is a huge advantage for controller players. My code EvolveJake will get you a pretty significant discount on these custom controllers, and I actually do use the TMR analog sticks. We'll get to that in a bit when I talk about Dead Zone, so their link will be down in the description below. For my graphics settings, I play pretty basic. DX12 is what I played on, I believe, since like Chapter 4 Season 2. And then I play on with pretty much everything on low or off. I don't use any color blinds. I don't want motion blur. And then most of these settings are going to be low or off. This makes it to where the game can run as stable and as consistent as possible, which is what I like. I want to have the highest possible frame rate at all times. And then also there is some visual advantage to having the game look more clear with less like effects on screen. It's much easier to find opponents and just like not get as lost when maybe people are trying to run away from you with like all the grass and, you know, effects going on in game. For audio settings, I'm also pretty basic. Main volume 100, sound effect 70. This is just how I've had it for a long time. Sound quality on high. I have 3D headphones off. This is another thing where like I don't know why I have this off, but I don't really want to change it because my understanding of the audio in game is typically very good. Like I often am able to hear things and, you know, have a pretty solid idea of where enemies are likely to be. So 3D headphone setting off sounds ridiculous, but it's just what I've used for a long time and it's what I've become accustomed to using. And with sound, that's really all you want. You just want to be able to hear a sound in game and then pinpoint where it is or have a general idea of where that is or where that enemy is coming from. And I feel like I do that pretty well. Visualize sound effects also makes this incredibly easy. If you don't have this setting on, I would recommend using it. This is going to be the little indicators around your crosshair that show you like footsteps, gunfire, somebody using heals. And I think this setting is really overpowered, but it also hasn't been changed for a long time. So it just kind of is what it is. I think anyone who turns this on just gets an automatic increase or an improvement to their awareness. I don't know if any of this matters. I never use voice chat. I just use Discord if I'm playing with somebody. Toggle sprint I have on off. I like having it on hold sprint. Auto open doors I have on. Mental activation on hold jump. Hurdle activation on hold jump. Hold to swap pickup I have on off. Toggle targeting I have off. Auto equip better items on. Interesting. I didn't even know this was a setting. Mark danger when targeting I have off. Auto pickup weapons I have off. Swap fire inputs for pump and dump. I have this on, but I believe this only affects mouse and keyboard. I don't think this affects controller. For preferred item slots, I have shotgun slot 1, AR slot 2, and then I just leave the rest unassigned. That way I can just do what I want with my inventory without the game trying to grief me in certain situations. This season, I often have shotgun slot 1, AR slot 2, the base boost gloves in slot 3, heals, and then the scanner or my second mobility item in slot 5. And then shotgun slot 1 is just what I prefer to use. This matters more if you play build mode. If you're swapping weapons, or if you're playing on quick weapon setting, because then you have a single button click to get to slot 1. I personally use a controller scroll wheel and I have that for slot 1, but we'll get to that in a moment. The main reason why people wanted shotgun in slot 1 in the past on controller was the act of going from like pickaxe to walls back to weapon would put you on slot 1, and you do that when taking walls. If you only play zero build, it kind of doesn't matter very much unless you hold quick weapon. If you use quick weapon, I think you want shotgun on slot 1. That way you can get to it as quickly as possible in those like heat of the moment, you know, hectic situations. Aside from that, you just want things next to what you're going to be using after. So like, let's say I had my shotgun in slot 1, base boost gloves in slot 2, and then AR in slot 3. That wouldn't make much sense because then I have to swap twice to get to my AR, right? It makes no sense. You want to be able to shoot your shotgun and then swap to your spray weapon. And so you want them next to each other. You could do like shotgun slot 1 base boost here and then AR here, and then that would be fine because then you could just left swap to get to the AR. But either way, you just want things close to what you're going to be using. That way you can get to them as seamlessly as possible and as fast as possible. I don't know if any of this matters. Reticle damage feedback I have on off. Damage numbers I have on cumulative. Damage scale numbers 100. HUD scale 90. This network debug stats is how you see your ping in game. I've been asked about that a good amount on like several different videos over the years, just randomly. If you want to see your ping and you don't see it, it's the net debug setting under the game UI. Don't use touch controls. I don't use mouse or keyboard, but okay, I don't know if like, okay, here we go. So these are the keyboard settings. Weapon slot 1 I have on scroll wheel up because, as I said, I use a controller scroll wheel. This makes it to no matter what I'm doing, I can hit scroll wheel up and then get to my shotgun. And then I have scroll wheel down for reset, but that doesn't really matter for this video because I only make 0 build content. But yeah, just being able to get to shotgun immediately is incredibly good. And you can accomplish that with the quick weapon setting. I had just been using the controller scroll wheel for, I think, like a year and a half before they added the quick weapon setting, so it had been some time, and the controller scroll wheel is very much allowed by Fortnite. There was a bug at the start of last season where they broke it, and they actually fixed that bug, making it work properly again. So Fortnite themselves has fixed bugs to make that work. Controller settings, this is what you care most about. Controller auto run off, build immediately, builder pro on, edit hold time. This doesn't matter because I have my own edit bind. Slide hold time, I think you want this as low as you can get it without accidentally activating your slides. That way, you want your movement to be as quick and as reactive and as seamless as possible in fights. But if you make it too sensitive, you might end up accidentally doing this when you don't want to, and that's not ideal either. So the ideal spot is, like I said, as low as you can get it without accidentally having it happen. Vibration, I think you want off. This makes it to where your controller shakes when you shoot or take damage and things like that. I don't see any benefit to that at all. Quick weapon I have on custom only, but this is a good setting and a lot of people would probably play better if they use this. I just had to use it at the start of last season because of the scroll wheel thing, and I didn't really enjoy using it. Build sensitivity 2, edit sensitivity 2.1. Look horizontal and vertical speed is at 40%, and this might seem low, but I play on linear, which we'll get to in a moment. I have no boosts. My ADS sense is 11. My scope speed multiplier is 1.09. I think the only weapon this would matter for this season is the DMR and the precision SMG. Look dampening time on 0.05. I turned this on, I believe, at the end of Chapter 5 during the Marvel season because of the lack of aim assist on certain weapons. I might end up just completely going to 0 on this because they did recently buff aim assist, but we'll see. I play on linear, and this is why I was saying my sensitivity might look low, but it's actually not. And that's because this setting affects how your sensitivity feels. Linear typically feels much faster and much looser than Expo, whereas Expo feels a little bit slower in terms of how your sensitivity improves or increases. And the main kind of difference between these is Expo is kind of seen to be better for like long range and making those small adjustments, and then linear is seen to be better for making quick adjustments in like shotgun aim and like reacting quick in those, important close range fights. Both are good. Both have very good players that play on them. Even in build mode, there is pro players that have 1 FNCS on controller who play linear, and there's pro players who have 1 FNCS playing Expo. So it's more of a preference thing. Both of these can definitely be good. I think the gap between them may have been a bit skewed towards Expo, but with the recent aim assist buff, linear may feel a little bit better now. I definitely feel better on linear now than I did before, especially with the third-person weapons. Like this season, having mainly third-person ARs, using those long range on linear is a bit rough. My controller dead zones I have on 9. Dead zones I think you want as low as possible without getting stick drift, and where you still feel in controlled. If you have these on the default, which I think is like 20, odds are turning them down would benefit you. But if you just go from like 20 to as low as possible, it's going to feel way too loose and not good. This setting is how much you move your stick before the game starts to register movement. So if it's too high, there's going to be situations where you think you're moving your stick and the game isn't getting any input yet because of that dead zone. And that's problematic. It's going to make it hard for you to make small adjustments, and it's going to make it hard for you to be precise aiming. And that's why I said you want these low, but not too low. If you put it too low, you might get stick drift, but also it might just be too loose and hard for you to control. And this is where the TMR analog sticks come in. So this is a new feature by AIM and several other controller companies. They're like Hall effects in the sense that they should never get wear and tear and they should never get stick drift. but they're made to feel more like default sticks. I don't really understand the technological aspect of how any of this works, but I had a Hall Effect controller I tried last year, and it did not feel good or normal or right to me. It just felt like too loose all the time, and I didn't enjoy using it. The TMR sticks, they still feel a bit looser to me than default analog sticks, but not so much that it really threw me off after like playing for a day or two. So I like the TMR sticks, and that is why my dead zones are a bit lower now. I kind of turned them both down a bit, and I may continue turning them down or leave them here. We'll just have to see over time. For my keybinds, my controller keybinds are pretty default because I play claw. Claw is going to be where your index finger is on the triangle, circle, X, square buttons. And that makes it to where you can hit all of those buttons without taking your thumbs off the stick. And I've played like that since like 2008, 2009. Before paddled controllers were a thing, this was the only way to really get that benefit of being able to like jump and aim at the same time. Now, getting a paddled controller is probably going to be easier and more convenient for most people. But because I play claw, my binds are very default. My sprint bind is weird. I have it on left on the D-pad, but that is the one paddle I use. This is my old like regular analog stick controller before I got the TMRs. That paddle I use for sprint, and I only use one paddle, and that's why my sprint bind is so bizarre, because I'm not actually hitting left on the D-pad, I'm hitting the paddle. Everything else is very default. Square reload, L1, R1 swap weapons, R2, L2 shoot, pickaxe left stick, place marker right. I actually do hit that button, but I mostly play solo, so it's not that big of a deal. Crouch is right stick. Toggle weapon canting I have on triangle. This isn't as much of a factor this season, but I think you want this on something where you can take advantage of weapon canting, but something that you're not accidentally going to hit. This is where you could turn the scope off on the red dot weapons. If you've ever been using like the hollow twister or the striker burst and you were like, it doesn't have a sight, what the heck, I have to go get a new one. That's probably because you canted it with this setting and didn't realize. Build binds are also pretty default, I think. Right stick for material swap. My edit is triangle. My reset is the scroll wheel down. Confirm is L2 and select is R2. And I think that's basically it for this video in terms of what actually matters. So I'm just scrolling through here so you guys can see in case there is anything that I'm forgetting that actually does matter. But I think all of this is kind of irrelevant. I don't use gyro. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like. Subscribe if you like to see more. Comment down below. Let me know if you play on an Xbox or PlayStation controller, and if you would like to check out any of the accessories I use, whether it's my custom controller, control freaks, or the controller scroll wheel. They will be linked down in the description. I am sponsored by AIM and Control Freak, so you can use code EvolveJake for a discount on both of those products. But I'm not sponsored by the controller scroll wheel. I just happen to use it because I think it's good. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, sub if you like some more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.